Hi everybody. I wanted to do a video instead of typing something up just because I feel like it is sometimes a little bit better to just watch and listen rather than read. We do a lot of reading. I also want to apologize for not being able to make it on Saturday. If any of you have ever suffered from migraines, you know how debilitating it can be, and even now I'm still recovering somewhat, but also feeling like I'm getting a cold. Anyway, I'll get into it. I did want to say that I'm really bummed that I missed your conversation, because when I listened to it, I was super excited, and I thought you guys talked about some really deep, important things that make me proud to be a fellow student at Fuller with you guys. I'm proud of, just not proud, but just excited to be a part of like what God is doing at Fuller and what God is doing through all of you and through all of us. So, just throwing that out there. So a few of the things that I heard you guys mention, that when you were reflecting on the practice of the ministry of presence exercises, is that for most of you, you're already in a ministry position. And so when you're engaging people, you're obviously going to tell them that, because that's your job. And how that sort of creates a power dynamic that I can only imagine, because I am not in active ministry in that same way, and not serving in a church. But I will say that even something as small as, oh, I go to seminary. Well, my boss, who's the director of financial aid, is like, okay, well, you're going to lead the one-on-ones and you're going to do the devotionals and staff meeting. And it's like, okay, I mean, it's an idea or it's a moment to practice those things that I'm learning. But it sort of does, I can see how people would be 100% flocking to kind of just grasp any sort of like counsel or wisdom from you all who are, actively engaged as pastors. I thought it was really cool, all the stories on opportunities where you've all been able to like expand listening to other traditions and faiths, whether it's like outside. So Lizzie was talking about the Baha'i faith, or within like Christianity, so like Catholicism. And I really appreciated what Lizzie was saying, which I think a lot of you are sharing, but not necessarily articulating it like this, that the hope for your ministry and being able to use the ministry of presence in the future is that it's not just a course requirement, but something that becomes part of your daily praxis. So right now, I'm in a strange place with faith community. My husband and I have been trying to actively search for a church for over a year now. And interestingly, this conversation that you all had turned into a discussion on race. And part of our issue and part of what we are trying to seek out is a place where we see justice or injustice being addressed and reconciliation actively occurring. Specifically because for us, we are two white people responsible for the physical, spiritual, mental health of a non-white person. And so for us, it's very important that there's representation and all of that. So we don't really have a faith community right now. So I sort of use my work as my faith community in these examples because it is a interdenominational Christian university. So I would say that we don't do great. It is interdenominational, but there's a heavy Southern Baptist, conservative, sometimes fundamentalist flavor to it. But I think that there are a lot of other voices sort of rising in the community. I think it was 2 weeks ago, we had a forum on race, and it was John Nunes, Jamar Tisby, and Dr. Garcia Johnson from Fuller came, and they were the panelists. They did presentations and then they did a couple of panel discussions, and Jamar Tisby directly addressed the racial dynamics of our university, and as well as some of the political affiliations we have. So I would say that most of the students and faculty were cheering, excited, really happy that this stuff was being brought to light, that we were being honest about it and not trying to just sweep it under the rug. I've noticed a lot more conversations happening, but again, this is within not a church, but just, where I work. After a long period of nothing happening. So it's not enough, but it's not nothing. And so I'm gonna take that as a win for now, or at least a positive trajectory. So some non-reconciled relationships that I have, I would say that I'm working, so as the assistant director in my department, I have a lot of people under me, a lot of dynamics, a lot of females, and there's a lot of there can be a lot of interesting dynamics with that, when it's strictly females. Just as if, I'm sure it's like that when there's strictly males. But I think that I'm working to kind of find a way to fit in, but also be honest with compassion to these people that it's very difficult to love. And just knowing that I'm called to do that, and I'm responsible for them in, like, as a Christian, but also as a leader. And so it's just a little hard, and I'm trying to work on that, and I pray about it all the time, and I work on it every day. So I would say that when it comes to reconciliation and mercy, if reconciliation is the heart of God. I mean, that's literally what Jesus came to do, was to reconcile all of us to God through him, to one another, to creation, in the process of restoration. And then mercy is God's MO. It's the way he deals with humanity. Yes, there is judgment, but it is merciful. And so if the church is the embodiment of the mission of God, then reconciliation should be our heart, and mercy should be our MO. And so I don't really know how that's going to play out in my calling, because I'm a white woman. Yes, I can speak to being a woman, and how gender dynamics can be reconciled, or how gender dynamics can be explored, and those relationships restored. But there are a lot of other things that I feel like I'm in a power position and need to just sit and listen. And so I'm ready to do that. And I think that that's where the church might be at this moment, No. So there was a lot of conversation about, hey, is racism still happening? 100%. So I'm a millennial. In my generation, it wasn't as much overt as it was colorblindness or passing, microaggressions or passing comments, very subversive type stuff. But with my daughter, who's only one generation removed, so she's a Gen Z, is 100% just like your son, Marcus, unbelievable amounts of blatant, overt racism. Just to give you guys a little bit of an idea of what it might be like here, which I'm sure you have your own version of this, there is a road in Palm Beach County called Southern Boulevard. On one end are the sugarcane fields of Belle Glade. Some of the poorest people in the country live there. The majority of the people live there are African American or minority. And I'm talking poverty, Appalachian level poverty. If you take Southern Boulevard all the way east, you will cross a bridge onto Palm Beach Island, where you will pass directly Mar-a-Lago, the home of the President of the United States. So it's a very strange place to live, very strange place to have grown up, and it has fueled incredible amounts of division. I mean, there was already a lot of division in this county, definitely in this state. But the fact that this is where the president comes, the fact that there's so many supporters, again, I'm not trying to get political, but for here, it's a reality. It's a concrete reality for us. And I have seen it happen with my daughter. So I would say that we're at a place where we need to be listening. We need to just sit down, shut up and listen. Yes, when maybe there is some intersection where you're in the position of the oppressed or the marginalized, and you can speak to that. But I really feel like in these places, it's time for the kind of the voices of those who are oppressed to rise. And that's the beginning part of reconciliation. That is the way that we can extend mercy right now, every day. Anyway, I know this is a really long video. I'm sorry, but I wanted to get on my soapbox, but no, I'm just kidding. But now I'm good, and I really, really appreciated your conversation, and I will see you soon.